It's been a while since we've done one of these shows. It's time to rock the mock. Field Yates just dropped a 2-round mock draft this morning, and there are some interesting Jet selections. We'll talk about all of them and react to it. Boy Green Daily starts now.
I'm going to lose my gosh darn bananas. Boy Green Daily starts now. Zoinks!
Boy Green Daily, Boy Green Daily, Boy Green Daily. Let's go!
Put your seatbelts on. Get ready for the ride. We're the freaking New York Jets, so we're built for this shit.
Hey, what's going on, everybody? I'm Paul Eston Jr., a.k.a. Boy Green. I'm the New York Jets digital reporter for Heavy.com. Welcome to Boy Green Daily, a daily New York Jets video show, also available, well, wherever you find your podcast. Let me give a shout-out right off the top rope, baby, to my friends over at NFL SE, the NFL Stock Exchange podcast. Finally got my hands on one of these. I'm wearing the new NFL SE hat. Shout out to Trevor Sikkema, Connor Rogers, stock up, baby. Appreciate it. Hey, first world problem, man. Those guys have been, selling these hats for a while, white hat, black hat. And every time that they went to, hey, it's available, I'm like, oh, let me see. I go on the link, sold out. It's like, oh, hot damn. All right, good for business, man. But finally got one. So, hey now. Very nice. Shout out to NFL SE crew. Appreciate you. And we'll be doing stock up, stock down a little bit on this mock draft from Field Yates, where we get to judge. Did you go, oh, Field Yates, this is what you think the Jets should do or will do or what have you? So we'll poke fun at it, celebrate it, react to it, and we'll get through each selection. He had a 2-round mock draft and just dropped this morning, just an hour and a half ago, right before Boy Green Daily. But look at this. Mother effing Chew is gifting a Boy Green Coffee Club membership here on YouTube. Thank you, MFC. That is your 11th raffle ticket of the month, baby. And that membership went to Emmanuel Holcomb. Welcome back, Emmanuel. It's great to have you, pal. Great to have you a part of the Army. Let's friggin' go. We have a big tie now. MFC has joined in with NC Green, Chef Kevin Gilbert, inside our top 4. They're at our raffle this month. Beautiful. Thank you, MFC, for your consistent support of this channel, baby. If you guys want a gift, you guys can do that if you're watching on YouTube. Hit that little money sign. Gift, channel, memberships. Let's get a party rocking up in here. And you like the Darrell Revis shirt? Shout out to my boys over at Homage. Yeah, I'm all geared up today. So here's what's going to happen, folks. We're going to walk through each of the selections by Field Yates in his 2-round mock draft this morning. Of course, the Jets results. We could talk about the other results in the mock that are interesting because it's always interesting to know what other players were available that the Jets could have taken instead at a variety of places. So let's start off with the number 2 overall pick in this Field Yates mock draft. With the 2nd overall pick in the Field Yates mock draft, of course, to our New York Jets, he selected David Bailey, the Texas Tech pass rusher. Flip a coin, folks. One day it's David Bailey. One day it's Arvell Reese. Back to David Bailey. Back to Arvell Reese. And every once in a while, Ruben Brain, Sonny Styles, a little sprinkle. But that's sort of where we're down to. And even less so on Ruben because I just haven't seen it consistently enough in a couple of months. But now we're down to David Bailey, Arvell Reese. Folks, let us know in the comment section if you love as we're going through each of these picks, you love it, you hate it, good, bad, indifferent. Of course, the Jets have the 1st overall pick of all the non-quarterbacks, right? So Fernando goes number 1, of course, and then the Jets get number 1 of anything else they want because they're not going Ty Simpson at number 2, very likely. They're not. So that means you could have the first wide receiver, the first lineman, the first this, the first that. Anything is up to your desire. Here's, by the way, what Field Yates had to say. Quote, a busy free agency period as the Jets defense in an improved place compared to the end of last season with the team adding linebacker Demario Davis and 2 edge rushers and Kingsley Enagbari and Joseph Asai, but it should still draft for value at this spot. Bailey happened to thread the needle of taking a player with a grade commensurate of the number 2 overall pick in an area the team must continue to invest in. His 14.5 sacks in 2025 were tied for the most in the FBS as he plays with a lightning-quick first step and aggressive approach to pass rushing. No Jets player had over 8 sacks last season. That is indeed true. They had 26 sacks total as a team, which ranked 31st in the National Football League. The only team who had fewer was the San Francisco 49ers, who had 20. Nick Bosa and company, a lot of injuries last year for the 49ers. Here's sort of where I stand with all this. I feel like David Bailey is a guy that gives you some instant action right now. So if you're someone that wants instant action, instant pass rush juice perhaps out there in the audience, that's the way to go. However, if you're drafting for the long term, which is what of course you should be doing in the draft, it just feels like the better play at this point is Arvell Reese. It feels like that. Arvell Reese is 20 years old. Let me pull it up on David Bailey here. Let's see, how old is David Bailey? Let's pull up the birth certificates. He's 22. He'll be 23 before his rookie season begins. That's, take that for what you will. I don't mean to be birth certificate watching. Arvell Reese is 20. He'll be 21 by the start of his season. He's got a full 2-year gap on David Bailey. And that may not sound like a lot to the general public, man, but that's some buco action, man. That's some buco action. Hey, before we go any further, wait a second here. Do I see a ticket has been punched? A new member has joined the Boy Green Coffee Club? I do. Shout out to DKL9548. He punched his own ticket to the Boy Green Coffee Club. Booyah! Let's go, baby. You have a raffle ticket now to our contest, DKL. Welcome to the show, baby. That's what I'm talking about. Way to hit that join button on your screen. Very nice. And you are in the running for a raffle. We'll have some more details on that in a little bit. Oh, today might be a party, baby, which I'm all about. Appreciate that. You guys can join the YouTube community yourself. It's a wonderful community. Get in. The water's warm. Oh, yeah, baby. Appreciate that. DKL 9548. Let's friggin' go. So, yeah, thank you for joining the club. Appreciate that. But yeah, like on David Bailey, just before we move on here, I sort of, Nangi Boko says it. I don't want Bailey, but if he's selected, I must learn to love it. That's it. I sort of convinced myself. I'm a rationalization guy. I've made this speech many times here on Boy Green Daily. If you've listened or watched the show for a while, so whatever the Jets do, I will rationalize and say, all right, well, here we go. Let's go. Okay. And it's not hard to rationalize the 14.5 sacks last year. Yippee. That's great. But there's been people that have questioned his ability in the run game. And, you don't need everybody to be great at everything, You brought in a couple of guys like Kingsley Nagbari, and you have some defensive tackles with David Onyemata and Tavondre Sweat. So you're going to have some run stuffers there. So not everyone has to be this great run stuffer, but, we sort of have that with Will McDonald. And, I just feel like if you have a base out there where you're having David Bailey and Will McDonald, that leaves you a little susceptible if you were to believe the run defense questions of one David Bailey that puts you in a certain position. But, again, it's going to be one of these two, probably. It's going to be one of these two. Hep says he's got rock hard hips, Yeah, stiff as a board. Yeah, that's part of the equation. Yeah, that's still part of the equation. All right, so David Bailey, number 2 overall in Field Yates mock draft. All right, let's hit those chimes. A new selection. With the 16th overall pick in Field Yates, his brand new mock draft for ESPN for the New York Jets at 16th overall. He has the New York Jets adding a dynamic pass catcher to the mix. And that pass catcher is USC wide receiver Mekhi Lemon. Of course, the Jets got this selection from the trade with the Indianapolis Colts for Sauce Gardner. More on Gardner in a little bit. Mekhi Lemon, the wide receiver out of USC. Here's the write-up from Field Yates on this quote. Despite his moderate size at 5'11", 192 pounds, Lemon's breakout season in 2025 launched him into conversation with Jordan Tyson and Carnell Tate for the best receiver in this class. His hallmarks are his toughness, run after the catch skills, and strong hands. His catch radius is better than you'd expect for a player who's built more like a slot receiver, leading to 20 contested catches over the last 2 seasons. For the Jets, Lemon's firepower is necessary to take some attention away from Garrett Wilson. Outside of Wilson, no Jets receiver had over 30 catches or 350 receiving yards in 2025. Yes, it was bad, Field. It was bad. Mekhi Lemon, a very popular pick here for the Jets at 16. Very popular. I'm actually working on something behind the scenes on a very interesting interview around Mekhi Lemon. Not with Mekhi Lemon, around Mekhi Lemon. You don't tease an interview before you got it. So hopefully that comes to fruition. I'm very intrigued by that. Of course, the Jets need friggin' help at wide receiver. Of course they do. That makes a ton of sense. That makes a ton of sense. Add a little lemon zest, okay, to the meal. Makes sense. There are some questions with Mekhi Lemon. We talked about that yesterday on the wide receiver episode. Some people think he's slot only. That's a factor. The size, factor. Apparently, his interview process raised some red flags, apparently, during the combine. Was he all there? Or as EZ says, was he tanking it on purpose, maybe? I'm not sure. I wasn't in that room. Now, for this particular exercise, I want to highlight the players that went from number 3 to number 15 to show you guys who was not on the board in Field Yates mock draft. And then we can talk about a few players that were still on the board because I see that it's a little bit polarizing in the comment section, whether or not that's who you would have wanted or gone in a different direction. So I won't play the chimes each time. I only do that for our Jets picks. But 3rd overall, he had Arvell Reese dropping into the hands of the Arizona Cardinals, the pass rusher out of Ohio State. Number 4 overall, Sonny Styles, the linebacker out of Ohio State to the Tennessee Titans. Number 5 overall, Caleb Downs, a safety out of Ohio State to the New York Giants. Wouldn't that be something? All that Ohio State love. Boom, boom, boom. 3 Ohio State football players in a row. That'd be crazy. Well, if you thought that was crazy, what about 4 in a row? Carnell Tate, wide receiver at Ohio State and Cleveland Browns. Man, 4 Ohio State players in a row. That would be insane. Staying there in Cleveland, saving on moving cost. Lou B's guy, Jeremiah Love, to the Washington Commanders. I've heard some recent buzz about this. Is that what they decide to do? Go Jeremiah Love with the 7th overall pick. Washington Commanders, Notre Dame running back. The New Orleans Saints, 8th overall, taking edge rusher out of Miami, Reuben Bain Jr. The Jets were at his pro day yesterday. Jordan Tyson, this is around the highest I've seen him in a while. He goes 9th overall to the Kansas City Chiefs, a wide receiver out of Arizona State. 9th overall there. 10th overall, Cincinnati Bengals, Mansour Delane, the talented cornerback out of LSU, went 10th overall. Had a great 40-yard dash and great pro day yesterday for the folks over at LSU. Francis Mauigoa, the brother of Kiko Mauigoa, the Jets linebacker, 5th rounder last year. This guy's an offensive tackle, goes to Miami Dolphins, 11th overall. Jermon McCoy, quarterback out of Tennessee, to the Dallas Cowboys, 12th overall. The Rams, 13th overall, taking offensive tackle Monroe Freeling, offensive tackle out of Georgia. The Baltimore Ravens, offensive lineman Spencer Fano out of Utah, goes to the Ravens. And then Akeem Mesidor, Reuben Bain's edge rusher teammate, who the Jets also saw yesterday. Buccaneers, 15th overall, which left the Jets there at 16. So that was the final of the 3 wide receivers that were off the board. I'm just peeking around. Dylan Thieneman is a popular guy. He went to the Vikings at 18. Kenyon Sadiq went to the Carolina Panthers at 19. He was still on the board. Trying to see other guys that were out there. Vega fell all the way to Pittsburgh at 21. What a friggin' deal, man, to get Vega at 21. That's a great landing spot there. Omar Cooper Jr. went to the Eagles. Emmanuel McNeil Warren, the safety out of Toledo, went to the Chargers. I'll try to say school names, too, as I'm sort of glancing through here at what happened. He had the Arizona Cardinals trading back up with the Buffalo Bills to take Ty Simpson with the 26th overall pick in the first round and do that. Wow. Trading up. Interesting. Doing the Jackson Dart. Fascinating. And KC Concepcion, Miami Dolphins, with that pick, the Jalen Waddle pick, they used it a wide receiver out of Texas A&M. Denzel Boston went to the New England Patriots, wide receiver out of Washington. Interesting. A bunch of interesting selections there out there in the audience. I'm reading through some of your comments on Mekhi Lemon. NC Green says, I would take Vega and Sadiq over Lemon. All right, there you go. I will tell you, Trevor Sikkema, I'm wearing the hat to support NFL SC. Trevor Sikkema has joined us a few times this offseason, and the most recent time, I highlighted the fact that when Trevor was at the Combine, not this year, last year, he was on the Jets' desk. They had Ethan Greenberg and Caroline Hendershot. They're two wonderful team reporters for the Jets. And Caroline asked Trevor, who's a player in this draft that's just an Aaron Glenn guy? And Trevor didn't just give some random first-round pick. He said Azareye'h Thomas and explained all his reasons why, and the Jets ended up taking Azareye'h Thomas. So I've sort of sold Trevor Sikkema as some sort of soothsayer, some prognosticator, some Nostradamus of some sort. And this year, when he joined my show, I said, hey, Trevor, let's see if lightning can strike twice in the same place. Who's an Aaron Glenn guy in this draft? And I assumed he was going defense. I'm like, oh, he's calling the plays this year. I sort of set him up. He's calling the plays this year, so maybe an Aaron Glenn guy is more prevalent than ever before. And he picked Mekhi Lemon. And he thinks that's the number one receiver on the Jets board, and he explained why. And I found it fascinating as an interesting conversation for what he believes the Jets would be looking for. So we will see what the truth is on Mekhi Lemon. You get me a wide receiver, it's hard to complain. Again, the Jordan Tyson injury scared me, but he wasn't even available on the board in this particular scenario. So that is what it is. But yeah, I mean, that one gives me a little bit of the heebie-jeebies, but overall, taking a wide receiver, you're not going to find some arguments for me. I'm going to be at the draft. I'm sure I'm going to be titillated if they add a dynamic pass catcher opposite of Garrett Wilson. That would be a lot of fun. And then imagine if you hit on that guy with Garrett Wilson, and then whoever the hell's playing quarterback is going to be pretty happy to have that going on. So there you go. Mekhi Lemon, wide receiver at a USC. All right, let's go to the next selection here for the New York Jets. This Field Yates 2-round Jets mock draft. This one's the first pick of the second round, one of my favorite picks in this draft, 33rd overall. 33rd overall pick in this Field Yates 2-round mock draft. He had the New York Jets selecting Tennessee cornerback Colton Hood. Again, Tennessee corner Colton Hood with the first pick of day 2. The first pick of day 2. Fascinating selection here. Here's what he wrote up about Colton. Quote, the Jets traded away Sauce Gardner to the Colts last season, a move that was impossible to turn down given the 2 first-round picks in return. Hood is an explosive corner who shows up against the run and brings good ball skills with his 4.4 speed. He helped Tennessee withstand the absence of Jermad McCoy in 2025, finishing with 10 pass breakups. Interesting corner. I haven't had this high on my bingo card, to be candid, but Colton Hood is an interesting cat. I mean, he's been at 3 schools in 3 years. That's sort of his bio, which, by the way, we have a full article. I highlighted Colton Hood in this selection in an article down below reacting to Field Yates mock draft. And Colton Hood is interesting. He's 21. He's listed at 6 foot, 193 pounds. He's been at 3 colleges in 3 years. Auburn in 2023, Colorado in 2024, Tennessee in 2025. Now, normally a guy traveling that much, you're like, does he just like the sights? What's going on at each of these schools that he's constantly changing? But actually, I guess for a corner, it's probably good for them to travel, right? That's what we want. We want corners to travel. I'll put the dad jokes aside. But Colton Hood, interesting. Now, I would say this for needs for the New York Jets, if you're talking needs here on the program, that corner doesn't seem like this massive need on the surface. I would assume that's how Jet fans feel, right? You got Brandon Stevens, he's a starter. You got Jarvis Brownlee Jr., you got a couple more years of team control on him, but you probably feel pretty good about him. And on the other side, you got Azareye'h Thomas, who a lot of people are high on. He was drafted in the 3rd round last year. Drew Beatty, my draft analyst, loves Azareye'h Thomas. They signed Nashawn Wright. He's a Pro Bowl cornerback from the Chicago Bears last year. And you have that group, and you're like, and then Quantez Stiggers, who I like a lot too. And you're like, Colton Hood, where the hell does he fit? Well, I think this is a good reminder I talked about this at the end of the column. This is a good reminder that the draft is not always what it appears. What do I mean by that? People think, wow, here's need, you fill it here, right? Like wide receiver, we just talked about it. The Jets have done buckets so far at wide receiver. So, oh my God, the Jets need a wide receiver. Bing, boom, bam. Use one of your top assets, fill the wide receiver void. And sometimes that is how it happens. But a lot of the times, it's thinking 10 steps ahead. Think about this, right? So, corner, I just laid out the depth chart, right? You're like, where the hell does Colton Hood fit? But if you really start looking at the corners, Brandon Stevens is under contract technically for 2 more seasons, 2026 and 2027. Okay, technically speaking. However, there's an out on his contract after this year. I'm not sure if the Jets are trying to scramble to get out of it. I thought he started off the year bad, and then he sort of steadied himself, and he was just a fine average corner, which great. For $12 million a year, all right, who cares? It's like the 18th highest paid corner. Who gives a flying hoot? So you have Brandon Stevens. I don't know if they're trying to get out of that contract, but they could after a year. Jarvis Brownlee Jr., he showed a lot of promise, but, is he the locked-in starter in the slot? Maybe. And then you go to the other side. Nahshon Wright signed on a 1-year deal. He has to prove himself. He's a fascinating guy, 6'4", Pro Bowler last year. As an individual, he led the NFL in takeaways. He had 5 picks. He had 2 forced fumbles. He had 3 fumble recoveries. Again, dynamic. But prior to last year, he had never started more than 2 games in a season. So there's a lot of risk there. But the risk is baked into the price. The Jets only signed him to a 1-year deal with a maximum value of $5.5 million. So you've got Nahshon Wright, you got Azareye'h Thomas, you got Brandon Stevens, and you got Jarvis Brownlee. But again, this is why it's not always the need right now. It's a need ahead. If you drafted a Colton Hood, sure, he could compete for a starting job immediately this season, but you're setting yourself up so you don't have to scream and run for a corner next year, because if anything shakes, Nahshon Wright doesn't stay here, Azareye'h Thomas doesn't develop, then you're like, well, we have Colton Hood. So I think sometimes that's it. Again, I don't know if I'm in love with taking Colton Hood with the first pick of the second round. I'm not sure, but I think there's something to be said for, again, that thought process of thinking ahead. Yeah. So there you go. Colton Hood, 33rd overall, first pick of the second round. Let's do this one last selection for the New York Jets. Hit those chimes. Everybody who's joining us here on the program, we're recapping Field Yates 2-round mock draft. He just dropped this morning on March 24th, a Tuesday, a 2-round mock draft. We're going over the Jets' results of his mock draft that dropped this morning. And with the 44th overall pick in the second round, the New York Jets select Kristen Miller, defensive tackle out of Georgia. This pick is from the Dallas Cowboys, of course, in the Quinn Williams trade. Defensive tackle. Interesting. All right, let's go to Field Yates' explanation for why he picked Kristen Miller for the Jets. Quote, Miller would help fill the void created when the team traded away Quinn Williams. This pick is from Dallas in that trade. Miller is a brick wall at 6'4", 321 pounds, using his length to get his arms up in passing lanes and his strength to help collapse the interior of the pocket. Yeah, I'll tell you, end quote. I'll tell you this, defensive tackle. I feel like we're kind of done at defensive tackle, to be honest with you. You got T'Vondre Sweat, you got David Onyemata, you've got Harrison Phillips, you got Jawan Briggs. Now, again, go back to what I just said. Jawan Briggs is on a 1-year deal for veteran minimum. Harrison Phillips did last year his deal, $7.5 million. T'Vondre Sweat has 2 years left in his deal, and then David Onyemata is on a 1-year deal. So technically, speaking of this room, only one player is under contract next season, and that is T'Vondre Sweat. So maybe it's a bigger need than I think, but I don't know, man. I feel like you could kind of rock with your group, and if you need a defensive tackle next year, all right, well, figure it out next year. I'm not sure Kristen Miller is... this is one where I throw the challenge flag the most, I think, of any picks the old Field Yates made here. I'm going to be honest. This one, I'm not sure if this rings my bell. Here are some of the picks between where the Jets picked at 33 and 44. So the Buffalo Bills, they have that pick because they, in this scenario, traded up with the Cardinals. They ended up with C.J. Allen, the linebacker to Georgia, who I like a lot. We need some off-ball linebacker help. Keelan Rutledge, the interior offensive lineman out of Georgia Tech, went to the Tennessee Titans with the 35th overall pick in this mock draft scenario. Caden McDonald, the big fatty, defensive tackle at Ohio State, went to the Las Vegas Raiders, 36th overall. Chase Besantis, the interior offensive lineman, Texas A&M, went to the New York Giants, 37th overall. 38th overall, this is the Houston Texans pick from the Commanders. Blake Miller, the offensive tackle out of Clemson, is who they get here. Very nice. Let's see. The Brandon Siss, the cornerback out of South Carolina, went to the Cleveland Browns, 39th overall. Jake Golday, of the Kansas City Chiefs, 40th overall, the linebacker out of Cincinnati. Another linebacker here to the Cincinnati Bengals, 41st overall. Anthony Hill Jr., linebacker out of Texas. Chris Johnson, cornerback, San Diego State, went to the New Orleans Saints, 42nd overall. And Malachi Lawrence, the edge rusher out of UCF, went 43rd overall to the Miami Dolphins. And I'm just going over some of the players the Jets passed on. Caleb Banks, they passed on, although he has a lot of concerns. He went 47th overall to the Colts. Let me see. Who else did they pass on of great note here? Lee Hunter went to the Green Bay Packers, if we're talking defensive tackles. Brennan Thompson, the speedster out of Mississippi State. Jennings Dunker, he was a big combine mullet guy, offensive line out of Iowa. Emmanuel Pregnon went 55th overall. I would have loved that at one of those picks for the Jets, but wow, there are the interior. Jacob Rodriguez, the linebacker at Texas Tech, fell all the way to 57 for the Chicago Bears. Come on, man. Where the hell were we on that one? That'd be nice. Chris Bell, again, wide receiver, Louisville, tore his ACL, but for the Rams there, Josiah Trotter's on this list. There's some big names here. Jadarian Price was the final pick of the second round at a Notre Dame to the Seattle Seahawks. I mean, I don't know. I'll be curious how you guys feel about the grades on this result of old Field Yates. Like I said, it's been a while since we've done one of these shows. We used to do these kind of shows all the time. Hey, Mel Kiper's mock draft. Hey, this guy's mock draft. Rock the mock. Here's what they said, and here's why we love it or hate it. And we used to do these shows all the time. This is our first show of this nature, this cycle. Fascinating. So absolutely terrific. So let's do this, baby. Let's do this. We have 300 people in the room. First off, guys, like the video, hit subscribe. We have 300 people in the room. Over 100 of those are currently watching on YouTube right now. The free way to contribute to the show is by liking that video, baby. Support the show in a free way. That organically gets this Jet show in front of other Jet fans out in the audience. Only 36 likes, but over 100 people in the room. Come on now. Hit that like button. Don't be nervous. Pound that like button. Slap it around. Do whatever you want with it. Hit that like button, though. We'd appreciate that in the audience. Also, we continue to climb on our subscriber count, so hit that subscribe button. That is free to do as well. We're trying to make a chase to 10,000 subscribers. We're less than 1,500 away from that. Who knows? Could we get that by next season? Could we get that by some random point over the summer during training camp or something? I don't even know. But let's just see what happens, baby. Maybe we just get a random pop out there in the audience. All right, here's what we will do. Feel free to grade that mock, by the way. I'll highlight some of those grades in a second. We'll open up the phone lines next here on the program. Also, I want to give a plug coming up here, folks. At 3 o'clock today, we'll have NFL on Fox reporter Henry McKenna joining us live at 3 o'clock, a third-party Tuesday. Myself, James Woody, and Henry McKenna. He's our NFL on Fox reporter. It's been a while since I've talked to Henry. He will give a state of the state on the Jets free agency, draft plans, and, of course, maybe some of your questions as well on social media. So we will, or YouTube, we will welcome those in a little bit. So that'll be coming up at 3 o'clock today. So wonderful. Can't wait to have and reconnect with Henry. But let's do this. Let's take a hep time out. If you guys want to call in, hop on over on YouTube. It's about to be the pinned comment. And you can call in whether you're a first-time caller or a long-time caller. All will be welcome here on the program. We'll be back after this.
1, 2, 3. Whoa! Bugging daily, bugging daily, bugging daily. Talking Jets football, man. All right. Bugging daily, bugging daily, bugging daily. The New York Jets Football Club. Offense, defense, special teams, watch Jets football with Boy Green. Everyone, J-E-T-S, Jets. Bugging daily, bugging daily, bugging daily. Talking Jets football, man. All right. Boy Green, bugging daily, bugging daily, bugging daily. defense, special teams. Watch Jets football with Boy Green. J-E-T-S. Let's go!
You heard hip. Let's go, baby. Again, I'm Paul Eston Jr., a.k.a. Boy Green. I'm the New York Jets digital reporter for Heavy.com. Welcome back to Boy Green Daily. This is a daily New York Jets video show, also available wherever you get your podcasts. We're less than a month from the NFL draft, folks. This is not a drill. Not a drill. So soon, all the speculation will be over, and then the results will be here, and we will react to whatever the hell the Jets did. I will be reacting live, and we'll be reacting as it happens here on this program as well. So let's go to those phone lines. That is a pinned comment on youtube.com/boygreen25. We'll also get into your comments. So again, if you guys want to grade that Field Yates mock draft, feel free to do so. We will react to some of your comments as well here on the show. And if you have any questions, feel free to fire them along. Let's go to the phone lines. We'll kick it off with the one and only Hap.
Hey, Paul. Hey, fellas. Yeah, I was a little underwhelmed with that draft, to be honest with you. You
Quite.
too?
Yes, it was D for disappointing. Like I was a little confused on position selections, to be honest. And again, I've sort of gone back and forth on the David Bailey thing. And again, if it happens, like any pick, I will eventually jump on the train. But it just I'm not sure that's where I'd go at that point. And then especially some defensive tackle. Like, man, I just didn't really have that on my bingo card at all.
Yeah, as far as Bailey, I'm nervous about his hips, and then and the run stopping, and then as well, and Lemon, I'm nervous about him. He's a little, I think he's wound pretty tight. That guy, he seems like a wackadoo in the making, but he really reminds me a lot of Aaron Glenn in a way, undersized and with a chip on his shoulder.
That's true.
It reminds me of that. So if anybody could, I guess, relate to him, it'll be him. But
right.
Sometimes two guys that are the same just don't get along either. So who knows?
Yeah, right.
And 33, who was it? Somebody, it was a
Colton Hood, the cornerback, which again, I would imagine if I was to because again, I'm reading it and then I'm immediately talking about it. I'm not talking to anyone else between me reading it and me talking about it, but I would assume that in the fan base that like corner, huh? What? Yeah. I assume that's the reaction.
Yeah, I don't know. I would be really, it's really strange the way that the NFL is starting to play out with the quarterbacks and the wide receivers. And really getting a really big part of the money. Who would you say after wide receiver and quarterback, wide receiver? Would you say defensive, the rushing, the pass rushers are getting the money?
Yeah, pass rushers. I mean, they're getting buco bucks, whatever Micah Parsons said, 45, 46, 47, whatever crazy numbers he had. So for sure. Yeah, it's the which again, it makes sense. It sort of feeds into the primo positions, right? Quarterback, left tackle, pass rusher. I know to counter that sometimes corner gets put in that category when we had Sauce, obviously, because that's the person you're supposed to rush the passer and then try to block and stop the passing. Yeah. That's right. I suppose corner can get that.
What's the highest paid corner, though, in the league now?
So it's someone just topped it. I think it might be Trent McDuffie. He's like at 31 and change. Yeah, I guess if it's overall 30. Number. So let's see.
Wow.
So pass rushers at like 47, quarterbacks at 60.
Yeah, 60 is crazy.
Yeah, who else am I missing here? Yeah, I guess those would be the top positions. Yeah, I don't think I'm missing anybody else that's higher than that.
Sometimes when you're in business, if you find a new trend and you get there first, that's when you make the killing.
Yeah.
I'm wondering if we, instead of all that money, if NFL teams should just put all that money into offensive line. And you have a serious offensive line, and you just like push everybody off the ball. Say, I'm gonna 4 yard, the old time football. It's like you have all these undersized guys on the other side of the ball. Okay, we're just gonna mow you down.
It sort of reminds me of a fantasy football draft. If anyone's ever been in one of those. So I've done a bunch of them live now over the last 10 years, which has been a super cool experience. And, you have all your buddies together. You have like 12 people together at a bar or something. And then it's like the 7th round. And then your buddy stands up and he's like, watch this. You're like, oh boy, what's he about to do? And then he's like, kicker or defense. And then everyone boo. And he's like, it's about to start a trend. And then it doesn't. and then no one takes a kicker or
Yeah,
defense for several rounds. So sometimes, right, like Dak Prescott, 60 million. Oh man, now we're gonna get a
Oh my
70 million
God.
guy. No one stopped him since. He's just sort of stayed there at 60. So to your point, sometimes there's trends where someone just zigs. Everyone's been zagging. They're like, you know what? That zigging thing sounds pretty cool. Blah, 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 blah. Sean McVay offense. Wait a second. You once had a sip of coffee with Sean McVay? Oh, head coach, head coach, head coach, head coach. And now everyone's trying to get like a million. What's the next Sean McVay? And then sometimes there's a trend someone attempts, and then it's like, no, that's stupid. And then nothing happens. So like, but it is there is I don't mind pushing the envelope and trying to find you be the trailblazer. And sometimes you get made fun of, but when you're right,
Right.
you get a lot of credence.
Remember, what was that one year when they put the pistol in? What team was that? Was that the Dolphins? Or who was it?
2008, they did the pistol Wildcat, Ronnie Brown, Ricky Williams, and it was against the Patriots in week 1. And Bill Belichick was like, what the fuck is going on here? And they got loaded. I mean, it was cool. And then for a couple of years, it was trendy. The RPO stuff with Kaepernick and a couple of those guys, trendy. That was sort of right around.
They figured it out, though.
Oh, yeah, they did. And then they went, all right, enough of that. And then, it's a constantly evolving thing. Again, you get a little spice, a little muy caliente every once in a while where it's this, Wildcat, this, RPO, this, read option. It does happen. Yeah.
Maybe, I guess with the rule changes, it's hard to go back to the old 70s, 4 yards in a cloud of dust kind of a game. Yeah.
Right.
But we'll see what happens. Thanks, guys.
Hep, you're the best, baby. Appreciate that. Yeah, good thoughts there. Yeah, on trends. We'll see if the Jets make a trend. Again, I keep going back to this. This isn't always true, obviously, because we don't know what Aaron Glenn's involvement was on this. But, like, with the Lions, they had a couple of fuck you picks. Like, that they took a guy, and everyone went, what the? And they're like, we don't give a shit what you think. Jahmyr Gibbs, Jack Campbell, trying to think of a couple off the top of my head of just Detroit guys. They just said, we don't give a shit what anyone thinks. I don't care where he's at on your stupid draft board. He's this on ours. And does Aaron Glenn have that in him? He didn't last year when we're talking about like Armand Membu. It was Membu, and they took him. And sometimes the most obvious thing is the correct thing. And Membu was spectacular last year. Now we have a right tackle for hopefully the next 10 years or something. So sometimes the most obvious thing is the correct thing. Sometimes it's not. But like I said, we'll sort of go through that process here on the program. Appreciate all the comments, all the interactions. We're having a lot of fun here on the program. 300 people in the room. Let's keep rolling here on the program. That is the pinned comment on youtube.com/boygreen25 for our people calling into the show. Let's go up next to Casey and the Sunshine Band. It is Kyle Clifton, baby. What's up, Kyle?
BG, how are you?
Yeah, I'm doing swell, thanks.
So, looking at Fields' mock, I hate David Bailey too.
Yeah.
I don't really think it makes a whole lot of sense, given what we know about Glenn. It's basically, a better pass rusher than Will McDonald, but all the lack of run stopping ability.
Yeah.
And then, the rest of it, I don't mind so much, although I do think we're going to see a trade back at some point.
Ooh,
probably at 33. But I mean, other than that, you're probably hitting the positions and you're probably close to value. So I can't have too much of a problem with it.
Right.
The one thing I'll say about Glenn and his history is, last year they took the player and the need that was projected in rounds 1 and round 2.
Yeah.
And then they started to go off book, right? They started to take more chances in the middle rounds.
Yeah.
So, I think it's going to be interesting to see if they are perceived to be just taking down value throughout this year, and whether that's an indicator of increased Muji influence or not.
Right. Yeah, it's interesting. Yeah.
Because I don't see a guy that has Muji's reputation being the guy that traded up for Arian Smith. I just don't.
Right.
Like I think that's a guy that you probably could have stuck and gotten around or so later. And I think the league felt that way.
Clearly. Yeah, right.
There are some people that thought that he wouldn't go drafted. I think. Yeah. I think that he would have. I think it would have been sometime on day 3 because speed's always at a premium. But
100%.
um, it's just I think we're going to find out a little bit more about Muji and about the Muji Glenn dynamic this draft coming up, and I'm here for it. So that's all I had to say. Have a great day, and I'll talk to you soon.
Hey, Kyle, before you
Yeah.
go, and this can be in the first round, second round, it could be any round. Who are the Kyle Clifton guys in this draft that you're pounding the table for, that you want, that you're mocking at your house and you're like, you know what? Yeah, I like this. Who is that guy or guys?
Well, you're catching me a little flat-footed here, but you know,
Mm.
I think that let's just say this.
Okay.
I think that it is a deep wide receiver draft,
Mm-hmm.
and I would not object to going back from say 16 or 33
Mm-hmm.
and drafting the position multiple times
Mm.
and see for multiple roles and seeing what sticks. And that means if it's an X receiver,
Mm-hmm.
if it's a slot receiver, if it's a gadget type return guy,
Mm-hmm.
right? And if you hit on 2 of those, all the better, right?
Sure.
I think that maybe since it seems like the top of the draft, um, wide receivers are going to be gone
Mm-hmm.
before 16, and they might not be. Like Lemon might be there, or Tyson might be there.
Yeah.
We can't be certain, but that might be an approach that might work for us in order to pull up the entire position unit. Um, I have some guys that I like. There are some guys that are just kind of you know being ignored a little bit. Is it Williams from Clemson?
Oh,
Who
yes. Yes. Yeah.
I think that he might be a guy. If we were somehow to get like an early third rounder, that might be someone who could be impactful for us. Um, and that's kind of what I expect from Muji. If he's what we think he could be, and a pro exec, I would hope that we would be able to parlay the capital we have into the ability to fill holes.
Yeah.
And
Antonio Williams, yeah, he had a 4.41 40-yard dash at a Clemson. Talented kid, 5'11", 187. Yeah, there's a lot to like there.
there's a lot of talent on that team, and for some reason it all went sideways for them. So
Right.
I'm wondering if we could cherry pick some of the pieces and coach them up a little bit, whether we can glean a benefit from it. But that's all I had. I appreciate your time, BJ.
There he is, Kyle Clifton, baby, one of my favorites. And horns up, baby. Great to have Kyle here on the program and appreciate his candor. Wonderful, as always. The phone lines are open, people. That's youtube.com/boygreen25. Let's go to this guy. I was going to highlight one of his comments, but why highlight one of his comments when I can hear it straight from the horse's mouth, baby? Let's bring him in. Knowledge the Jedi. I saw him talking veteran wide receivers there in the comment section. Let's bring him on the program. Knowledge, great to have you. And man, great lettuce, by the way. I'm not sure if I complimented you on that flowing locks there, Fabio, but well, mamacita.
Thanks. The reason why I say bring in veteran wide receiver is only because the room is lacking a person that's been in the league longer than 5 years. So we bring somebody in there. We bring in a young receiver at 16. I'm saying whether it be Lemon, I'm gonna pass on Tyson because of his injury. I don't see him I wouldn't risk it because we might not even see him until after the first month of football, being ready to actually play. I'd rather be safer. Like if I was drafting at number 2 and not trading back or whatever, I'm probably all in on Ruben Bain. Like a lot of people are sleeping on Bain, but if you looked at his pro day yesterday, his bend is as good as James Harrison, and that man was a monster. So if we put Bain on the edge, he could even play anywhere on the D line. You can put him inside, outside. It's a 3-4 that we're saying is the base here. He could fluctuate to a 4-2. He could fluctuate to a 4-3. He can move around people while they're in the first set and start switching his sets in the middle. I feel Ruben Bain's a very strong prospect for defense, period. That's the only reason why, if it was me personally, I would take Bain. A lot of people like. I see why you like Reese, maybe
Yeah.
even Sonny Styles.
Sure.
But at 16, if I'm gonna take a receiver, I'm gonna take Omar Cooper Jr.
Ooh,
People
okay.
feel it's a reach, but he's listed as the 24th best person. But
Right.
I feel that you could play him at slot, you could play him at outside, and when he has a premier guy out there, he still almost made 1,000 yards receiving, and every year he got better. He had progression there at Indiana. So I feel that that's a safe pass catcher if we're gonna grab a receiver there. So I say we could go Bain, we could go Cooper or Lemon at
Okay.
16.
Yeah.
Then at 33, we could either go CJ Allen or we
Oh,
could go get that safety out of Toledo,
Emmanuel
Warren.
McNeil Warren. Oh yeah,
Yeah,
he's a talented guy. Yeah.
we could get him. At 44, we could get a guard. We could get a really good
Sure.
guard, and we could get a guard straight out of New Jersey that played for Bergen Catholic and is used to this type of temperature out here. I believe it's the guard out of Texas A&M. I think his
Chase
last name is,
Basantis, right?
he's a dog.
Yeah.
We could get him at 44. Now, let's say we go safety at 33 and not linebacker, then we're probably looking at Jacob Rodriguez there at 44.
Ooh,
That's
Texas
how I
Tech, nice.
see like those 4 key spots in the draft that we could pick people that would be right away. We could start them. They could learn up in the room with a veteran, and they will bring us some value to the defense that we already went out in free agency and added to. You know what I'm saying? Like, and then it's like it's pretty even. We could either go 2 offense, 2 defense in the first 2 rounds. Again, with the QB situation, we could look for a safe bet at 103 with Carson Beck. I know I'm a Miami guy, so I like the U how they went deep into the playoffs. It proved they could be a 12 seed. It don't matter what your seed is. It matters how you play in the second half of the season. And they were rolling. They were rolling. So
yeah,
I like Carson Beck there. He's older. You could train him to be a QB2. You already know he has a high floor. You know what I'm saying? If we and then we could go probably in the 5th round and grab Green. And Green is a project. So we could go 2 rookie QBs, 2 rounds back to back, have one that we could see as a backup QB for the long run, and the other one could be a project. If not, we could trade him away because he had a free combine. So he's a young trade capital for later if it doesn't work out that we don't want him for the long run, and we get a QB in the first round next year with those 3 picks, whether we use all 3 of those picks or if we move up and everyone thinks we're trying to get the best QB, whether that be the Duke kid that went to Miami that he looks prospering.
Yeah, Darian Mensah
at Ole Miss.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? A lot of people aren't mentioning other QBs that will be good in next year's draft besides Arch Manning. And I believe, like, I get it. Who doesn't want a Manning to help?
Of course.
Them? Like a legendary last name quarterback. But it's a New York market. It might be a lot of pressure. The reason why I like Beck is because they booed him at the combine.
That was hilarious.
Smile. All he did was smile and then have a really good combine. Like,
that's right.
He went out there and let it rip. Of course, how can you judge people there? There's nobody rushing you. You're not under pressure. It's kind of like Zach Wilson. Like, we're like, oh, he could improvise. He's out there, whatever. I say play safe. Go get you somebody who's proven on film. Go get some football guys. Get people you could plug in now that could play now. And you get a veteran in the room so you could raise them up into being a professional. That's basically how I see it.
Well, you can't. I love the plan, man.
In the draft, it's a gamble either way. At least,
well, that's true.
I'd rather depend on game film, though. I'm not going to depend on measurables. I'm not going to depend on. I'm not going to depend on people and their, with no gear on, running around. You know what I'm saying? So I'm gonna look at game film. The reason why I say grab Bain at 2 is because the best undrafted free agent was Harrison on the Steelers. He played 10 plus years.
Sure.
Imagine that draft class and feeling that I passed on this guy. In fact, we passed on this guy.
Right. Yeah.
And he's a Hall of Famer. in my eyes.
100%. Yeah, I
So,
agree. Yeah.
I don't see Bane falling out of the first round, even though he didn't compete in the combine. You look at his game film, he's still a top 5 guy, if you're looking at that. And there's no news coming out that he has injury problems. Downs has an issue with the knee.
Yep.
Tyson Jordan, this
my
guy,
God.
Jordan Tyson here, has
Hey.
something wrong, coming off of an injury.
Yeah.
Adler coming off of a broken foot.
Yeah.
Like,
a lot of injury stuff.
You got to remember, you're not going to be too hot the first season fresh off an injury. So might as well get people with a lot of gameplay, not that injury prone, had a healthy season, had a deep season last year. The NFL is longer than 15 games. The NFL is longer than 12 games. I don't like Simpson's probably one of the smartest QBs in this prospect
Seems
situation,
that way. Yeah. Yeah.
but he has too small of a sample size for me to risk it. If I'm going to take a D lineman, I want to take that small school D lineman because his 40 time was crazy for a D lineman. And you need speed inside the A gap to get off on that guard if they double team you, to get off that double team when they squeeze you fast. Even though we got Sweat, he's not fast. He's just a space. He's to take up space. He's to take up space. We need a speed guy on the inside too.
Yeah, to complement him. Right.
When we do those 4-2 fronts, when we go more in that dime nickel hybrid, we're gonna need a speed guy in that A gap. So I think we get that small school. He got something to prove. We could get him probably 4th round, 5th round, 6th round. Well, we don't have a 6th round. We probably could sneak him in the 7th round. And this kid could probably compete and surprise everybody. He had a good combine. If we're looking at the combine, there's some people out there that had some freak athletic skills. But in the NFL, it comes down to who has the football IQ. But if we're going to take a swing, I take a swing on the small town D lineman, the small college one. I think his last name is Proctor. I'm getting him confused. I think his last name
Caden Proctor you're talking about?
He's a D lineman. He came from like a
D
D3.
lineman. Okay.
Yeah. He came from like a D3. He's not the Alabama one. But
no,
I think
yeah,
he has
okay.
a similar last name.
Okay, let me see.
Small school D lineman. His 40 time was crazy though. Yeah, like
let me see. I think I found the guy. Let me make sure I pull it up here. Yes, I have him. It's Caleb Proctor, southeastern Louisiana, 6'2", 291. Yeah, he had a 4.79 40 at his weight of 291 pounds.
940 D tackle.
Caleb Proctor. Wow.
He could play outside edge, man. He's fast.
Sure.
You can put him inside outside. See, I feel if we're gonna draft people and take swings, grab hybrid players that we could switch them around. Don't be locked in one spot, which is probably why everyone loves getting Reese. He don't even know his position. He don't even know his position right now. He just know I'm gonna be on defense making plays. Like wherever you put me, coach.
Somewhere. Yeah, right.
He just want to play. That's how I look at it. But it's always good to get guys that you could imagine that you could work them inside, outside. And I feel Bane could do that. If you were stopping the running game, you want Ruben Bane.
It feels like people are just sort of overreacting to the arm thing and just trash it. I know. That's what I'm saying. I want a football
Aaron
player.
Darnold was one of the best nose tackles, and he was 6 foot? This man was a monster of a man.
They went in the middle of the first round. Can't believe
when your first step is exploding into a man's chest with your shoulder, does it matter your arm length? He's already inside his body. Ruben Bane's a wrecking ball. I don't think he's going to have a problem with his first step. People looking at 40 times, the first step, you really looking at the first 10 yards explosion.
Yeah, the 10-yard split, 100%.
This man's explosion is crazy. I like Ruben Bane, man. This guy,
maybe he slips. Maybe you could get him. Maybe he starts sliding because people are overreacting. You can either move up from 16, get him and somebody at 2. And you get both. Maybe.
Yeah, you never know. Like, let's say you get reset 2 and Bane drops, and you think you're not going to grab him at 16.
Come on. And people were thinking you could have gotten either player 2, and you ended up with both?
Yeah. Think about it. He's still projected as a top 5 player to take.
Yep.
And he didn't even do the combine. And again, I think the combine's going to be, it could help people if you need it.
Sure.
It can help people if you need it because your film isn't right and get enough reps. Maybe you're splitting reps with another all-star like the whole situation at Notre Dame that the two running backs are considered the 1 and 2 back, but they're splitting reps. It depends on your situation. It depends on your situation in college. Now, nobody's saying Fernando isn't going number 1. Fernando only stretched in the combine and interviewed.
That's it.
Like,
yeah.
He waited for his pro day probably to throw so he could be comfortable in his own environment. Meanwhile, the combine's in Indiana. You had your home environment.
He did.
Like, you get me? So it's just I don't see us not taking a guy that is game day proven in college for the past 2 years, 3 years. Now, you could say, let me take a guy like the quarterback from Clemson, because he would have been a
Cade
top
Klubnik.
5 pick at QB last year, but this year his season was shit.
Yep.
Are we gonna get a Hackenberg scenario? Was it the offensive coordinator? Was it the system?
Right.
Why did he go from being a top 5 prospect to now probably being a day 3 guy? Who are we blaming? The player, the coordinator, the situation, the coach? You know, a lot of factors come into play.
Of course.
The real question is, who fits our scheme? Who fits our system?
We need to find that out.
Who's going to be a real player for the Jets that's going to be like Glenn sees him for the next 3 years? Because, one, I got to save my job. This is my turn year. I can't have a 3 on whatever. I need a 6 or better win season just to be considered not on the hot seat.
Yeah.
For next year to be a playoff running contender.
Let's just hope they can turn it around, man. We just need this team to turn. It's been too damn long now. It's been too damn
15 years, man. Like I said, Bart Scott was the last time we were excited.
Yeah.
Then the following year, new offensive coordinator, Mark Sanchez looks like a top 5 QB to butt fumble.
Yep. It all fell apart so quickly.
It was like Jenga. It was like Jenga. Like it just fell apart like that. You took one piece out, boom, everything went to shit.
Well, hopefully we can add a few pieces to this game of Jenga here, knowledge. And I see people are loving you in the chat. So, man, I've loved how much we've seen you in the comment section, the calls, man. They've been great. Keep them rolling.
I appreciate you for having me on the show. Thank you.
Of course, there he is, Knowledge the Jedi, and knowledge is overflowing. Terrific. And I saw the comments. DNY for life, giving some love to knowledge, and for good reason. Awesome. Great content. Appreciate that. So we got a super chat in. Let's work this in. EZ here on the program. Edward Ziff. EZ, baby. Super chat.
Wow.
By the way, I want to give a quick shout out to EZ. He has 9 raffle tickets for our contest. 9 raffle tickets with his latest super chat. $5 super chat coming in. Appreciate you. O-line is the hardest position to fill mid-season, and we must draft Vega. Joe Douglas said it's impossible to fill that void midseason. It is incredibly difficult because offensive linemen are scarce, man. Good ones rarely ever become available. And, you know, it's hard to even get backups. So in this Field Yates mock draft, Vega fell like 21 with Pittsburgh. And you're like, whoa, man. Whoa, man. We've talked about the investment on the offensive line, but again, I reiterate this stance. While I have said, when this first came up, Daniel Jeremiah had it in a mock draft like a month ago. I'm like, not sure. Not sure if that's where I want to invest. And then, I've sort of just marinated on it, and the offensive line does have the biggest sort of pendulum swing where it just, if they're good, the quarterback is protected. If they're good, the run game's cooking. If they're good, there's more time for the receivers to get open. Like, they just affect everything. So if you're going to ever, quote unquote, overindulge at a position of choice, it makes a lot of sense to overindulge in trench warfare, baby, and make sure you got that unit on lock, that you got that unit right. In Vega, in theory, right? You get Olu Muiwa. Okay, you have him taking care of business. Our boy Olu Muiwa at left tackle, right, Mama?
His full name is Olu Muiwa Fashanu. And Olu Muiwa means the Lord has brought us this.
And hopefully the Lord has brought us a brand new offensive line that can protect whoever the hell's that quarterback. Thank you, Mama Fashanu. Okay. And so you got Olu Muiwa, left tackle. Put in Vega, in theory, Penn State guard. Ioane, you put him at left guard. Put those Penn State former teammates back together, baby. And then center, Josh Myers. All right, maybe we could try to improve that later, but we'll worry about that later. You got Josh Myers there, okay? And then right guard, Joe Tippmann. Right tackle, Armand Membu. And they got Dylan Parham. Let Dylan Parham and Vega battle it out. Veteran versus rookie. And it's essentially, I know it says 2 years, $20 million for old Dylan Parham, but really it's like a 1 year, $7.25 million deal. And you have that sixth guy. And even Dylan Parham, quite frankly, has some experience at center. Maybe he's your center. Maybe it's Olu Muiwa, little Vega action. Dylan Parham to center. And then Joe Tippmann right guard, and then Armand Membu right tackle. Or here's another combination. Dylan Parham, actually, his best position in the NFL has been right guard. So what if you do this? Olu Muiwa left tackle, Vega left guard, Joe Tippmann back to center, Dylan Parham right guard, Armand Membu right tackle. But here's what I would say at all the swapping all over the place. I want Tippmann to just sort of settle into a position. The thing that I hated with the AVT stuff and George Fant and a couple other offensive linemen over the years is that the constant movement, it's hard to find a home when you're constantly on the move. Oh, you're a left tackle, left guard, right tackle. Like, just find a home, whatever it is. And I think Tippmann has sort of settled into right guard. Played very well. I maybe just keep Tippmann at right guard, or you move some other crap around. Let's keep Tippmann on lock, because later this offseason, we could see Tippmann get that big extension, and you want to keep him where he is. But it's a great super chat, Easy. Great super chat indeed. Trench warfare, baby. Trench warfare. Absolutely. Great stuff. The chat is lively on a variety of matters, which we appreciate. Guys, keep showing all the love here in the chat. Appreciate you. I do want to work this in. There was some QB news. Yesterday. The Jets sent a full contingent out to the pro day yesterday at Miami, and you got Akeem Mesidor, the pass rusher. You got Reuben Bain Jr. there as well. Of course, you have Carson Beck. The Jets were doing a ton of homework on Carson Beck, man. General manager Darren Muji met with Carson Beck on Sunday night. The Jets had Frank Reich there. The Jets had Aaron Glenn there. Like, they had the full contingent, man. Now, maybe it's all for show. Maybe, sometimes you do these fugazi trips, and maybe they're not really there for Carson. They're there for the pass rushers, and then they're showing that they have a lot of interest in Carson to throw people off the scent. I have no idea. The games of the NFL are crazy. But, as you're going with this, I'm curious what the plan is. Hey, I see this wonderful comment. I want to highlight this real quick. Paul, you are my morning go-to. You're the man with the master plan. Appreciate that. Well, I like pronouncing people's names right. Is it Dino or Dino? Okay, I guess my gut tells me Dino, because we had a Dino Babers here in Syracuse. I want to make sure when I highlight your name in the future, Dino, that I say your name properly. Thank you for the kind words. The morning go-to, man with the master plan. Very nice. I love that. Thank you very much. But just let me know in the comment section, Dino, if that is your name here on the YouTube. And thank you for all your support. I love doing this show. It's an absolute thrill. I love talking about the Jets. I love talking draft. I love talking about this team. And I know when I've been doing this YouTube show. It'll be 6 years in September. It's how long I've been doing this YouTube show. I've been doing this sort of theme, like this podcasting world, for like a decade-ish. Used to be an audio-only show. For the OG fans, it was called The Jet Zone. I know Green Bean was a big fan back in the day, which I appreciate. It was a terrestrial radio show in college. It was on air. The Jet Zone was 88.9 FM, WNYO. Shout out to my college station for putting that on the air. 5 days a week, 2 hours a day. I used to do this show called The Jet Zone. And then it was the Jet Zone. And then it eventually evolved into where we are now, where it's Boy Green Daily. And I've been thrilled to see all the success of the program. So, it never gets lost on me. So thank you so much for the compliments. I appreciate that, Dino. Thank you. Let me get some of these comments in here, if I can, in between all your guys' punching each other in the face and fighting in the comment section. Yeah, NC Green says Tippmann needs to stay at right guard. Yeah, again, that's what my gut tells me. That's what my gut tells me, NC Green. I feel like that'd be the best play. Let Tippmann learn. Let him marinate. Let's not be all herky-jerky around. You know? Yo Holmes says, first-round guard would honestly be the dumbest thing we could do. All right, there's varying opinions out there in the audience, Yo Holmes. Yeah, again, it feels like an overinvestment of resources, but again, I think the thing I would convince myself if that does happen, right? That's the pick. The draft chimes hit, and then Vega Ioane is the selection. Like, hey, man, the Jets are building the trenches to the best possible thing, BPA, and they say, hey, let's go. Nagi Boko says line play travels 100%. And if you want to protect whoever is, that's why, adding offensive linemen, adding wide receivers, whoever. So it's Geno Smith, and we'll see who's the QB2. More conversations to be had about that in the future, I'm sure. But whoever's playing quarterback, if you have more offensive linemen, more weapons, whoever the next quarterback is like, sweet, or this year, right? So that makes a lot of sense. So I can understand that. I could see that. Yeah, again, on all the power struggle crap, I think it's completely overrated, to be honest. Yeah, I see this from Yo Holmes. He's saying, I could care less about the supposed power struggle. Just win. Win all the BS fades away. No wins, then adios. Yeah, we heard it, the Mike Francesa thing, and there's a power struggle, and Aaron Glenn was the man. Now he's not the man. There's trouble on the boardwalk between Muji and Glenn, and blah, 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 blah. It all sounds like bullshit to me, to be candid. It all sounds like BS. Aaron Glenn has the final say on all roster decisions, and I doubt one bad year suddenly he got his power taken away and he was shoved in a corner for timeout. That just doesn't make any sense. Woody gave Aaron Glenn a 5-year deal and promised him and gave him all this power, and then 1 year in, he's like, yeah, you know what? You lose all of that. Like, no. Come on, people. Come on. Come on. Read the room. Read the room. What is most likely? What is realistic? What are these things? I believe that AG fully still has that final roster say. So, like, if a trade happens, he has to put a stamp of approval. If signing happens, he puts a stamp of approval. Now, I don't view it in this way in the building that Aaron Glenn has his feet kicked up on his desk and Darren Muji comes in cowering. Oh, Mr. Glenn, I just wanted to let you know this was a trade I was sort of thinking about. I think it's collaborative. I think, we heard about the Juwan Briggs story where a scout is like, hey, man, you guys might want to keep an eye on this. And then Muji and Glenn are watching tape together, evaluating, assessing, constant conversation. So, like, I don't think it is this thing where AG has to put his stamp of approval on it, like, as if he's this head boss and crap happens beneath him and he just stamps it at the end. I don't think that's how the structure works. I think it's a collaborative process, and Muji and Glenn naturally, organically reach the same result. And Glenn is for it because he helped get us there. That's how I sort of see the power dynamic. I think it is more even than it was last year, but it's not that the structure's changed. It's just Muji and Glenn have got to know each other more. Muji and Glenn's knowledge of one another, from everything we understand, was Glenn interviewed for the Denver Broncos head coaching job a couple of years ago. Muji was in the room. So there's that, and whatever random interactions have happened where one team that Glenn's on has played the Broncos. That's it. So, like, naturally, as you get familiar with someone, the vibes and everything change a little bit. So, appreciate Nagi Boku giving a shout out to Knowledge. It's great to have new people on the show. So, I love people that call in all the time. I love new people. All of them are welcome here on the program. And yes, on the AG stuff, AG obviously has to win, people. Of course. If he doesn't win, he's gone. Gone like the wind. He ain't staying. He ain't sticking around if he has a win. To me, again, it's hard to just draw a line in the sand. It's hard to draw a line in the sand and just say, hey, it's 5 wins or else, bucko. Hey, it's 6 wins or else. It's 7 wins or else. No, I don't think so. I think there's some interpretive. I think if it's 6 wins or fewer, that's going to be a very difficult thing to sell. My gut tells me like 7 wins. You get 7 wins, okay. Again, maybe 6, but 5 or lower, that seems like he's gone. But again, there's just so much context that gets lost when you make an overarching statement like that, personally. NC Green says Gary Myers said AG might have it in his contract regarding final decision making. To be honest, I'd be surprised if he didn't, with sort of how it's set up. The Jets sold themselves to Aaron Glenn, which, by the way, I don't hate. Eventually you gotta shit or get off the pot, and they said, AG's the guy. We like his background. We like the coming home. We're gonna give him an all full court press here, 5-year deal, all the jazz. I would not be surprised if it says it in there, but I've heard, because beyond, I talk about the Jets every day, and I love doing it, Boy Green Daily, but I do some other shows on the MC Show Digital Network, and we talk to a lot of Giants people. And I heard the dynamic of how it works with Harbaugh, and I've heard from a few people in that building, and Harbaugh has it in his contract to hammer down if he needed to. But with how their process works, he should never need to do it. But he just wants to know it's written in the contract if he has to do it. So, if there was something with the trade, let's say him and Joe Shane were at odds about trading a player, and Harbaugh could just say, you know what, I've got the power here, man, and I'm just going to pull the trigger and do it. So, yes, I think I would be surprised if AG does not have that written into his contract to sort of have that final say over decision making. But how often he has to use it, to me, would be of intrigue to talk about, I suppose. NC Green, if AG has to win, then why would he waste a top pick on a quarterback that may only play 5 games? Yeah, if he drafted Ty Simpson with one of these first round picks, boy, either they think Ty Simpson can play a lot quicker than what is suggested, or he feels safe. I don't know what other reason he could take a guy like that, because if you draft Ty Simpson, let's say at 16, for shits and giggles of this conversation, you draft him at 16, your year is going terrible, and you say, hey, Woody, whoa, don't fire me, buddy. We got this Ty Simpson thing marinating under the surface. He's going to be great. That seems difficult. So I don't know. I think there is a fine balance. I don't think AG's, obviously, look at the free agency answers. He's not signing people left and right with reckless abandon like he is desperate. The moves don't scream desperation to me that the Jets have made in free agency. So I don't think, Aaron Glenn, I'm sure, has a sense of urgency, because we all have a sense of urgency in life. But it doesn't look like he's flying around with his hair on fire in a good way. You don't want that. You don't want desperation. You definitely don't want that. You want calculated business decisions. Jamal Joseph. So BG saw Glenn's contract? Whoa. Again. Thank you, Jamal. I just said it. I said I would be surprised if he didn't. I don't have his contract. Of course not. I haven't seen his contract. Of course not. I'm just saying, with how it all set up and how AG was hired first and he got the 5-year deal and the way that they talked about his power that he has, that to me, and it was discussed that he had final roster say. So why would it just be talked about? Why would it be hearsay but not in the contract? So again, I don't know 1,000%, of course. But no, that's what I would say about that. Let's get some more of your questions and comments in. Sharon, I love AG. I want nothing more than AG to turn this thing around. Come on, man. Look at this.
Who wanna fly?
Man, if AG can turn this thing around, the vibes are going to be immaculate. And as a guy who's been doing podcasting during these dark times, my entire run of, whether audio or video, my entire run of doing podcasting, the Jets have unfortunately been very bad. Very bad. The only time they were good was 2015. I did a podcast from the Jets parking lot before that game. I did something. Some audio thing, might have been on my phone, and I did a show before that Jets Patriots game in 2015, and boy, the vibes were high. We won our 10th game. Oh, incredible. And I saw it was Brandon Marshall's birthday yesterday, so you're reminiscing about that magical 2015 year. Bring us back, baby. Bring us back in the Hunt graphic, in the division race, into this race. Oh yeah, come on, man. Ugh. Can't wait to be back, and can't wait to be covering it on a show on a week-to-week basis. That spectacular. Unbelievable. NY Jets fandom, yes, AG has to win 1,000%. If he doesn't win, he's going home. Point blank. He needs to win, or else he's going to be fired. Yeah. Yogi Rocket says Woody Johnson was so stupid to give AG such a deal. I don't think so. After everything that had happened, you had to go through your process and trust someone. And trusting someone is scary, right? Has anyone ever done a trust fall, right? You trust fall and someone doesn't catch you, that sucks. Eventually, you just got to go through your process and take your swing, and you hope it hits. You do all your homework, all your work, and all their work led them to AG, and they took the swing. And we as Jet fans have to hope it works. So, point blank. So I don't think Woody Johnson was stupid to give AG the deal. There was, come on. I know everyone wants to have 2020 hindsight here in 2026 and say, AG, yikes. He was an incredibly attractive candidate last year. The Lions thing was the sex appeal. Of course, Ben Johnson was incredibly attractive, but a lot of people wanted AG. A lot of people wanted AG. He was one of the best candidates on the market. So I'm not going to turn around and say what a ridiculous decision and judge it from this light. He was one of the most coveted candidates on the market. The Jets got him. It was a terrible first year. Let's hope it turns around. Philium here. I'm sure it's a collaboration, but I believe Muji is the brains. He has the quiet confidence. Where would Captain Kirk have been without Spock? I didn't anticipate Star Trek references on the show, but Philium, way to get creative. Love the pop culture references. Very nice. Let me see. Some good stuff, folks. Some good stuff. Why don't we do this? We have 300 people in the room. Folks, like the video, hit subscribe, do me a solid. At 3 o'clock today, we're going to have NFL on Fox reporter Henry McKenna on the program. It's going to be great. We'll do a state of the address on the Jets free agency, the draft plans, and everything else in between. We'll be doing all of that and more coming up at 3 o'clock. So hopefully you guys can stay tuned for that. I want to give another shout out to MFC for gifting a membership. Thank you to our brand new member, DKL9548, joining the Boy Green Coffee Club, baby, getting a raffle ticket towards our contest, and Easy with the $5 super chat here on the program. Awesome. That was a lot of fun. Folks, we'll be back at 3 o'clock. Again, another shout out to the NFL SC boys. Great work, people. And we'll be coming back on at 3 o'clock. Hopefully you guys can stay tuned and take care. We'll be back.